Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? This is Coach Rains. Welcome to Deconstructing Christianity. We are here for what may be our final talk for the week, but we are here to have another, hopefully, great discussion today without the rudeness of yesterday. So our conversation today is, and I rotate like 3 or 4 different subject matters. So our conversation today is going to be, did the Torah actually happen? Is the Bible historical? You know my stance on it. No, none of these things happen. Not one thing that the Bible claims to have happened, these mystical things, ever actually happened, especially when we are looking at the Old Testament. Either these stories were lifted from somebody else, some previous story that was well known and popularized throughout the Levant, Mesopotamian, Mediterranean area, or they were just completely fiction. And one of the ways that you write fiction is to add that fiction, add a little bit of historical things to it, so that people think that the thing happened in actuality. When we look at these things, we recognize that no, none of these things actually ever happened. But when you're dealing with people who don't know how to do research, don't do research, or back in the day couldn't do the research, then it's easy to pull the wool over their eyes. And that's essentially what we see. The same way that we see people get in think about it. In today's world, people are lied to about current events, things that are going on, which will become history. And then those things have been manipulated to the point where people believe that certain things happened in the past when those things never actually happened, or they are a shadow of what actually really happened, right? People do this in their daily lives, and people certainly do this in literature, and definitely in ancient literature, which is why most ancient literature is looked upon, when it makes claims that are historical, is looked upon as mythologies. And the Bible is no different. It is a mythology. So the challenge today is for any believers who can actually have proof that any of these things in the Bible actually happened. Now, I put a bunch of Old Testament things up here, but if you want to bring it into the New Testament, talk about the Jesus character, we can go there too. We can talk about the Jesus character as well. We can talk about those people as to whether or not they actually happened or not. But as with every time we come up on a podcast, I have yet to engage with a Christian who actually has the capability and ability to prove that any of these things happen. Most of the time we get the context, or you're believing the white man's beliefs or history, or to the winner goes the writes the story, or you got to be able to read this in the spirit. We get all these excuses from the Christian, but we never get there. We never get any proof. Nothing solid. We never get that. And like I said, they'll use some parts. One of the best examples is that historically we can identify that Hezekiah existed. Hezekiah existing, no problems. Hezekiah most likely existed. Hezekiah was sieged by the Assyrian King Sennacherib. We can agree that happened. Hezekiah paid the bribe, the tribute to Sennacherib. Both sides of the coin, both the Assyrians and the Bible, agree that Hezekiah paid the tribute. But Hezekiah says that an angel came down and killed 180 of the troops, of the Assyrian troops. But we can see how Sennacherib pulled those troops, said so in his own statements in Nineveh. But we can see how that troop movement then moved down to conquer the rest of Judea and on into Egypt. And if the armies of the Assyrians had lost 180,000 men, then their conquest of Judea, their conquest of the Sinai Peninsula to the Nile River, would have at minimum been halted and have to be done a few years later. So did Jerusalem exist? Sure. But did the mythological stories surrounding Jerusalem, did those things happen? Right? That's the part. That's the problem. I like when these Christians like Fred Adams come on here and say things like this. Go on a talk show, sir. You are afraid to go on a talk show. Without considering the fact that they don't want to invite me to their talk shows. Now, I have done the show Talk Heathen. Look for it, and I know that I'm on their roster to do it every so often, to be on their shows. But these people don't want to talk to me. People like Fred think that you can just go on, hey, I'm just going to go up here to CNN and Fox, and they're going to let me talk. You got to be invited, sir. You got to be invited. The ignorance of some Christians that think that lends itself to some level of credibility is astounding to me. It's so astounding. It's astounding. And so many of the storylines that you get from the Bible are taken from other Mesopotamian cultures, whether it is the Sumerian Akkadian texts, the Canaanite Ugaritic texts, the Babylonian texts. So we get a lot of these stories which are similar. Like a gentleman the other day posted on my Facebook, said that there are very little similarities between the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Atrahasis to the Bible. He is dead wrong. There are so many common connections, whether we're talking about the flood and all the intricate details of the flood of Atrahasis, Utnapishtim, Zuasudra, that are pretty much damn near the same. Or the story dealing with the Tower of Babel, which are similar. Or the story of Genesis and the creation of the earth, creation of man, which are similar. There are many similarities within these stories. The one story that may not have as many similarities, that's a big story, is the Exodus. That's because no one in the ancient world thought that the Exodus actually happened. Gotta guess. 6 figures.
Yes, sir. How you doing, fam?
Doing pretty well. Are you over 21?
Yes, sir.
Good. Are you a believer?
Yes, sir. Without a doubt.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on the prompt?
So you basically asked, like, did the Torah actually happen, man? I think the Bible actually happened. I think the Torah happened. But what happens, my brother, is that our lifestyle makes God a liar. Because we say we believe him with our mouth, but our actions deny him.
Okay.
You remember
that? Wait.
I'm sorry.
That has nothing to do with whether or not these events that happen in the Torah are historically accurate.
Yes, sir. I was gonna go a little deeper.
Well, we're talking about this subject matter.
Yes, sir.
So do you have any proof that any of these things actually happen? You say you believe it, but do you have proof that any of these things happen?
I would say, yeah, just based off my life. Like, think about how when Moses delivered the people from Egypt, right? Parts the Red Seas. We're no longer in Egypt. We talk about like the descendants of Abraham, how he said like it'd be more descendants than the numbers in the stars, and they'll receive his inheritance. I'm convinced, man, that those who believe are literally living in the promise of Abraham to this day. Like I live in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alabama to be exact. Historically racist, historically all of these things. But God allows me, man, to be prosperous, even in a world that tells me that, oh, you're a product of slavery. But I'm prosperous to this day, and I believe that's because of the promise that God had made before I was even here.
You know, almost anybody around the world can make the same statement based on their religion and based on the history of their country. If you were someone of South India, then you can look at the persecution of the history of South Indians compared to North Indians, which was very similar to what was going on in the Southeast from the time frame of from the slavery that happened in India under the British to the elevation of the lighter skinned Indians over the darker skinned Indians, and then up into modern times where the darker skinned Indians are way more prosperous than they were 40, 50, 60 years ago. But they would give that tribute to Brahma or to Allah, depending upon, most of them would be to Brahma. Most dark-skinned Indians practice Hindu, but they can make the same claim based on their religion. So, but that doesn't mean that the stories of the Hindu religion are true, which though goes over to, that doesn't mean just because your life is better doesn't make the Bible stories true. It can be inspirational, but it doesn't
Right.
make it true.
So let's look at the Tower of Babel, right? Like, we know that story, and we have people all around the world that speak different languages today. What's your perspective on that?
People were speaking different languages from the very, 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 very beginning of mankind. We can, linguistic archaeology, you can see where the root of different languages come from. So like most African languages have absolutely nothing to do or no connection whatsoever to any root language of the Romantic languages, the Latin languages. The Mesoamerican languages have no root connection to the Levant, the languages of the Levant or the Semitic languages. And the fact that those languages were around before the Tower of Babel. So for instance, cuneiform, and we have that in writing on tablets, was around before the Tower of Babel story ever happened. So was the Egyptian language.
I agree. That's true.
So that would invalidate the story.
So let's go back further down, like to Adam and Eve, like when God curses the land, where he's like, it'll be thorns on the land and women's pregnancies will be painful, basically having contractions. What's your perspective on that?
Same thing. Well, same thing, but different. Women having contractions and pain in childbirth have been something that's happened, as far as we know, before the Bible. So the Adam and Eve story happens around 4004 BCE. People were around long before that, and we can't say that we don't have anything that tells us what childbirth was like back then, but people were having babies long before the Adam and Eve story. And the other end to that,
brother, I apologize. So you're saying people were having babies before Adam and Eve?
yes.
Okay.
You live in America. You live in Alabama, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So do you know that out in Utah, I think it's Utah, that there are human footprints that date back to 25,000 BCE? And those footprints are men, women, and children.
Okay.
So people been around long before the Adam and Eve story was ever created. And the Adam and Eve story, based on the Bible, dates back to 4004 BCE. So yeah, people were having babies long before that. And then as far as the land is concerned, the sub-Saharan Africa, the Southeast where you live, has never been a desert, has never not been green and with foliage. Even during the Ice Age, they were cooler temperatures in Alabama, but they still had green foliage. So Alabama has never experienced a lack of vegetation.
Oh, well, it was like when you read it intently, it'll say like thorns was on the ground, like thorns and bushes and stuff like that.
Well, bushes has been around for as long as we know.
I'm talking about like briars and thorns, on the ground.
That's always been. You've always had, wherever those types of, like wherever roses have ever grown, they have always had thorns, for as far as we know. So that whole statement about the land will now be like this, be desolate and hard to work and all that sort of thing. No. One of the reasons why a lot of cultures, equatorial cultures, didn't develop the technologies that other cultures developed is because they didn't have a need to. They could just go. Food was plentiful. How old are you, by the way? There's a reason why I'm asking.
33.
Ah, damn, you too young. So when I'm 54, grew up in Marietta, Georgia. When I was growing up, even when my mother could not buy food, we knew that we can walk across Marietta and just pick fruits, berries, and nuts. That's how the land had always been in those equatorial areas, tropical areas, and the areas slightly above the tropicals, which would include the Southeast. Having food, being able to pick fruit and nuts, it has never been a problem for that region of the planet, all around the planet for the most part. So that still doesn't work. Now, the only thing I will give you in that story is that the word that is used there, I believe the word Eretz is used when it speaks of this punishment. And the word Eretz, although it can mean the whole world, it most of the time, with the context of what it's talking about, it's just talking about the local area. Now, the Adam and Eve part is really talking about the whole world. But I will let it go that it could have been just talking about that area, because that area is deserty. That area doesn't have a lot of growth and foliage. And so the writers when they wrote Genesis in and around 600 BCE, they were referring, their point of reference was the fact that their land was harsh that they were living in. So this was just their justification to explain why their particular land was harsh. They didn't know the sub-Saharan Africa was going on. So they had no idea that existed.
So my last thing would be, it's kind of David establishing Israel and Solomon's kingdom. So like to this day, there are parts of like David's kingdom, like in Israel today. Solomon, like when you read First Kings, it says that some parts of the stone still stands to this day. What would you say about that? This is First Kings,
right?
So this technically not the Torah.
Well, when they say to this day, they mean the day that they were in existence, that the day that they wrote it, rather, which would be around that. Let's say you said First Kings, that would be during the Assyrian and the Babylonian time frame. So
my brother, I'm sorry for cutting you off. You blessed me when you said that. You said Assyrian. Think about this. Cyrus the Great, man. This is somebody in Isaiah 45, and I know this ain't the Torah, but this is a real figure. Cyrus the Great. This is a real person, my brother.
Yeah.
This is a real historical figure.
Yeah, Cyrus existed.
How can we say Cyrus existed and not God, the people of Israel? How can we say that?
Let me ask you a question. I'm gonna give you. I know this example is going to seem ridiculous, but this is how ridiculous it is. Would you agree that 9/11 happened?
Yes, sir.
New York exists.
Yes, sir.
Did Captain America help out the firemen during 9/11?
I don't think so.
That's my point. When you're writing these types of narratives, you will add in certain things that can be proven through history, but then you legendize the story to include things that are mystical. So Cyrus, who was called a Christ by the people during that time frame, right? So the Bible, in the Hebrew, Cyrus is called Christ. Did you know that?
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, go research that later on. But Cyrus is called Christ. But Cyrus conquering the Babylonians and coming in with the Persians, releasing the Israelites to go back to, now they still didn't have their own country. They were still under the Persian Empire, but releasing them to go back to Jerusalem to build the temple, to rebuild their temple and rebuild the city. We can historically validate that. Have no problem. Those are easy things, but it doesn't prove the mystical parts of the Bible. Just like New York and 9/11 doesn't prove the mysticism of Captain America, right? And if we wanted to use that in more of a reference of how our history is, do you think Alexander the Greek existed and conquered all the way to Pakistan and all that, the Greek Empire?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, we got the buildings that he built, we got the autobiographies, we got the coins minted in his name, statues, all these kinds of things, right? But does that mean that his mother has sex with a sea god, which produced him?
Nah.
There you go. So just because Cyrus exists doesn't mean that all the other things about the Bible exist. And to go to your statement about David and Solomon, did the temple exist? Sure. Is it attributed to Solomon? Yes, it is. Do we have any proof that Solomon or David existed? 99% no. The reason why I say 99% is because the Tel Dan Stela does say that this king came in. This king says that he came in and he utterly crushed the house of David. The only problem with that, and this is why I give it that 1%, there is the mentioning of a house of David, but there's no description of what that house of David is or was, because the other areas that this king claimed that he crushed would have encompassed the legendary kingdom of David. So we don't know if David was just a chieftain. Was he a warlord? Was he just a very rich or powerful person? You know, we don't know that. Like, I don't watch Game of Thrones, but I think it has the connotation of, you know, like my last name is Reed, and I would be the House of Reed. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
So it could be anything.
So, brother, like the more we talk about it historically, right? The more we talk about the Bible in a historical context, man, I'm convinced that it's harder to like say God didn't exist than to say he was. Like, not just from historical context.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder to say God didn't exist if we just talking about history, because we both agree that Cyrus the Great was real.
Right.
We both agree that Solomon had a temple or David had a kingdom. Like, we both
no, we didn't agree on those two things. I don't agree that David had a kingdom or Solomon built the temple. I said the temple was attributed to Solomon. I don't agree that Solomon built it. We agree. I agree that a king in the Tel Dan Stele said he defeated or utterly crushed a house of David, but I'm not agreeing that that was the kingdom of David.
Yes, sir. Now, my brother, I'm gonna ask you this though, like, and I know I'm not talking about the Torah, but I guess I'm in the historical books because I'm still in 2 Kings. You remember Josiah the king, right?
Mm-hmm.
Will we agree that Josiah was actually a king, like historically speaking?
Yeah, he was a puppet. He was a puppet king.
This man was really a king. This 8-year-old boy was really a king. So how do we believe all those things that's historically facts, right? And we can't believe the Torah, because like, how did they even get there?
Okay, I don't think you got my other example, so let me give it to you a different way. All right, do you believe that Ramesses was a pharaoh?
Yeah.
Hatshepsut, Akhenaten, all these Egyptian pharaohs, you think they existed?
I think historically speaking.
So since they historically existed, does that mean that Ra, Isis, Osiris, Heru, Thoth, all those guys existed?
I don't know. No, I don't know those last names.
But I'm saying those were the guys that they worshipped. Those were the guys that they attributed their success, they attributed their defeats, they attributed their growth. Do those guys exist because we historically know that those pharaohs existed?
I get what you're saying. That's tough for me to say. The reason why I say that is because I'm gonna always speak from a biblical context and I'm still in the Book of Kings, when Elijah the prophet challenged the 500 Baal worshippers, and he say, "Hey, if your God is real, command them to, send fire and burn up these wooden calves." So I'm always speak from a biblical perspective. So
I mean, if your mind is already made up to your landing point, then that's always where you're going to land, because I see that story as a very cruel story and not the story of a good God. But like I said, if the measure of this conversation is if Solomon did, let's say Solomon, there was undeniable proof that Solomon existed.
Oh, deconstruction. Before we land though, I just want to ask you this: do you think Jesus was real?
Nope.
So he wasn't a real figure.
Nope.
Like, historically speaking, not even Bible.
Nope. Not even historically.
Okay.
No. Jesus is not a historical figure. Whether we're looking at the Bible or we're looking at things that are written outside the Bible, there's just so much legend, there's so much fairy tale and misinformation and differences for Jesus of the Bible to have ever existed as a person.
Okay.
You know, so I used to, but no, not anymore.
What made, and I guess it's not my place to ask this.
You can ask.
You don't have to answer. What made you go from like, man, I believe, like being from the Bible Belt, you know, I'm pretty sure you had a grandma take you to church about Sunday school. What made you be like, oh, bro, this is a fairy tale. This ain't real.
Studying the Bible.
Okay.
Yep. And you know, yeah, we had to go to church, and my grandfather always said, never devote your life to anything that you don't know about. So when it came to the Bible, if I'm going to base my life on this thing, I need to study it. And then starting at 9 years old, I had questions. Certain things just wasn't making sense. So I started asking questions. And I kept asking questions, and the more questions you ask, the answer doesn't always come back the way you want it. Especially now, I think one of the major difference between a person like myself and how you have described yourself is the fact that I used to have a predetermined landing point, but then I stopped having a predetermined landing spot and just said, I'm gonna let the information take me where it takes me. Scary thing to do, hard thing to do, but it's the only way to get closer to truth. Never going to get full truth, but it's the only way to get closer to truth. Because when you've already determined it, you have already set yourself up for an answer, and you're going to force the answer. Like, you know, that girl that you look back now and say, man, I knew I shouldn't have dated her. She had all them red flags, but you had already decided, I want to date this woman. She's so pretty. She's so fine. You completely ignored the red flags. You know that girl?
Okay.
You've experienced that girl in your life, right?
Okay.
That's how people do the Bible. I believe in Jesus. I believe in the Bible. So no matter what I hear, what I learn.
So you look at it like, man, I regret I devoted my time to that.
No, I'm glad I devoted my time to it, because I would have never got free from it. If I hadn't devoted my time to it and opened my mind and not have a predetermined landing spot, I would be a pastor right now. I would have been a pastor for a long time.
Okay.
And like many pastors I know, they're so caught up into it now, but they know they want to walk away from it, but they feel trapped because their livelihood is based on it. And it's hard to do. And your status in the community, let me add that to it. Their status in the community is based upon them being a pastor. So even though they know, they can't walk away from it. Too much of a disruption of their life. And I mean, I got one pastor. He's just waiting until, because he's part of the Methodist organization. So they have a retirement plan. He's just waiting to hit the retirement. And he just told me he's going to stop. He's done with it after that. But he's so far out of his train. So he trained to be a financial advisor, a stockbroker, but he hasn't done it in 20, 30 years. He can't just jump into that. And his family life will be thrown in turmoil. His kids who are in college, all should be in college now. He can't afford to walk away from the Methodist Church. So.
Okay. I respect that.
Yeah.
Paul calls himself a bond servant, and that's what I am, man. I'm a bond servant to this.
I'm not a slave to nothing.
Sir,
That was one of the problems I had with the Bible. How am I going to go out? Why? My ancestors fought through slavery, dealt with slavery, endured slavery. And now I'm going to call myself a slave to something? I ain't a slave to nothing. Because when you become a slave to something, that means you have no freedom to think beyond what your master has given you. And I refuse to be a slave to anything. Like, I'm not a slave to being in America. I'm not a slave to being black. I'm not a slave to being a man. I'm not a slave to even being a human. If I could get off this planet, I wouldn't be a slave to being an earthling. Because really, if I can get off this planet, I leave this planet because it may be beautiful, but humans mess it up. Humans are a virus. Oh, I think his phone, somebody keep calling him or something like that. Yep, 6-figure dropped. It's a little warmer today out here in San Antonio. Look at Patel. Atheists are slaves to the devil. The level of, do Christians ever? Oh, shit. I'm sorry. A lot of people have tried to get on here. I did not see the order that everybody was trying to come on. So I'm just going to start from where I think, how I think it goes, but I'm not sure. Guru.
Yo.
How you doing? You over 21?
Yes, sir. Yeah, you had me on sometime before, a while back. I'm in my 40s.
I know. I just got to ask every time because for some, I guess there's a TikTok issue. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no problem. No worries, boss. No, we were on the same page at that particular time when I came on your live, me understanding that it was all malarkey and, stuff like that. But I think where we disagreed at, and I might even have been kicked. I don't know. I don't think we had an argument about it. You might have something to do too. But anyway, we had this disagreement with the esoteric aspect of scripture. Now, I don't believe it at face value. None of the stories. I don't even know if they've unearthed any biblical characters for me to even try to believe it. And I know it's not written in a chronological order or anything like that. But can someone get any lessons or morals from it, your opinion, or read it in an esoteric way to gain some type of allegorical meaning or something like that, in your opinion?
So I'll start this with the fact that there was a time frame in my life where I was on that. I'm going to read the Bible and I'm going to pull the hidden knowledge from the Bible that most people just aren't getting because their mind hasn't ascended high enough to get it. But then the thing that, and there were some information, there were certain things that I read it and I can get like an esoteric idea, like the Jesus character saying that the kingdom of heaven is inside of you, right? Or the kingdom of heaven. Well, in the Bible, it says the kingdom of heaven is at hand, meaning that it's present, that it's right now. Esoterically, I took that as I can make life now heaven. I don't have to wait for heaven. It's all about my mind and my attitude, my actions, how I vibrate in this world. So, yeah, you can get some lessons like that. Not murdering people is a good thing. Not stealing, that's a good thing. But then there's no esoteric lesson for how the Bible says if a young girl who is not betrothed to someone is essayed by a man, then the father has to pay the man. Then the man has to pay the father 50 pieces of shekels, 50 pieces of silver. And then the young girl has to marry this man, provide children, and the man can never divorce her, even if he gets another wife. There's nothing esoteric about that. That's just cruel.
That's true.
So you can get some, but because of all the messed up stuff in it, I don't even bother with it. I can get every other esoteric lesson, every good esoteric lesson that the Bible does have, I can get it somewhere else where it doesn't have that jacked up stuff.
I hear you on that. We agree on that as well. One more question too. So I have found myself going to a lot of Masonic live I'm gonna say curious in the sense. Well, I'll just say curious, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm not sure. Are you a Mason at all?
Yes, I am, but I'm not a practicing Mason anymore.
Okay. So you might not be able to speak on certain things or whatever. Would you say that being involved in Masonry when you were involved or practicing steered you away from scripture? Because I know that a lot of the guys say that you can be any religion you want and be a part of it, right?
Yeah, it didn't steer me away from it, as I had already walked away from Christianity at that point in my life, but I considered myself to be more Gnostic at the time frame. So I still believe that there was some supreme being. I didn't consider myself to be atheist during that time frame. And a part of Masonry is the fact that you have to believe in a God, but it can't be an evil God. So you can't believe in Agramenia or Satan, in any of the evil gods of any religion. You can't believe in the evil version of that God, because the main thing is making good men better. Is the main thing about Masonry and the brotherhood of being there for one another. So I was still fine practicing Masonry. They knew that when I came into Masonry, that I didn't believe in the Christian God. Yeah, because you have to express your belief. Right. So
no, that's true.
And although there were a few brothers who wanted to blackball me because they felt like Masonry is about Christianity. But then they had to be educated by the other Masons that know Masonry is not about Christianity, because you got Masons of all religions that are involved in it.
Correct. And then one of the guys were telling me that at least 80 to 85% of Masons, especially in PHA, are more than likely Christians.
In PHA. In PHA, yes. But as far as the whole thing, I would say it's more like 65% are Christian.
Okay. Were you Grand Lodge Estate or just PHA?
Ancient, Free, and Accepted.
Ancient, Free, and Accepted. Okay. And that's where. So, do you take back any regrets in joining Masonry?
Oh no, none. I learned a lot of good stuff, and if you like esoteric teachings, it's a good place to learn a lot more esoteric teachings.
Okay, because that's what I was trying to understand about. I haven't joined yet, obviously, and I'm super curious. Obviously, a lot of the negative things that's out there about it. I'm not saying I hold on to those or believe it at all, but it's out there, and it's more of that negative than the positive. You honestly only get the positive from the people that's actually in it. So
yeah, because most of the people who are talking the negative have never been a part of it, and they are just they're parroting something else that they heard. Most of it comes from the 1950s. You had the anti-Masonic political party, and so they started saying and at that time frame, 80% of men in America were Masons of one sort or another. But they start saying all this negative stuff to try to win the presidency. And at the time frame, the main person over the Grand Lodge said, "Don't fight it. Don't say nothing." They were counting on the fact that that Masonry was looked upon as a good thing, and they didn't fight. And since they didn't fight, the lie became the truth to a lot of people, and so the membership dwindled. And then by the late 70s, early 80s, the Grand Lodge was like, "Oh, hell no, we got to fight this stuff." It's kind of like a little late, but we got to fight this stuff out. Yeah.
And I know, not for you, did you stay at, which again, that you guys always say that is the third degree is the highest degree. Did you go into the other appended bodies at all?
Yep.
Outside of the third degree?
Yep.
Did you get as high as 32?
Yep.
Or whatever height? Okay. So York Rite Scottish Rite as well?
Both, yeah.
Both. Would you say that the lessons from the degrees, and I don't want to take from your live boss.
That's why I'm smiling at you.
Sorry about that. Would you say the degrees, the first and the third degree, is more expounded upon in those appendant bodies, or is something totally different?
Both.
Okay. Because I know they say you got to be a Mason to be a Shriner, but a Shriner doesn't necessarily have to be a Mason or something to that effect. Something like that.
No, you don't have to be a Mason to be a Shriner.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, that's what I was trying to understand too, because like for instance, like you would have to put your hand on the BSL of your choice, which if you're a black male, more than likely you're a Christian. And since we're both agreeing that at least I agree that that God in the Old Testament specifically,
Mm-hmm.
is an evil God, only because in Isaiah, 45 verse 7, he says, I create evil.
Yep.
I don't want to add to it or take away from that. I'm reading it as is. It's in English. I read English and comprehend it very well. So if he is an evil God, did you have that feeling at that time and still did it, or what got you away from it, or was it just, hey, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I think I know what you're trying to say. I never took my oath on the Bible.
Okay.
No,
Gotcha.
I didn't use the Bible. I used the Corpus Hermeticum.
What's that?
In
In short is,
I mean, yeah, it's a lot.
okay.
Just don't read the book by Doriel. The Doriel book is a bunch of bullshit. It's a little short book. Even though, well, let me rephrase. You can read that book, but read the Corpus Hermeticum first before you read that little short book. The short book does have most of the major concepts of it, but it throws in some bullshit as well. But the Corpus Hermeticum. Another time I did my pledge on the Tao. The Tao Te Ching. Tao Te Ching.
Oh, like the opposite of Tao. Tao.
Well, it's the same. You can say Tao or Tao. Same thing. The writings of Lao Tzu. So yeah. And if somebody try to force you to do it on the Bible, then that's probably not a place you want to be anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it if I were to join. I wouldn't do it on scripture at all. I was thinking more towards like, because I think I asked one of the guys and they said you couldn't use the Upanishads, but you could do like the Bhagavad Gita or something.
Bhagavad Gita. Well, that's just that lodge is saying that. The hardest part was like a lot of the lessons resonate around, like if I were to meet another Mason and there are certain things that we would say to each other, and some of that is based on the Bible, based on the Old Testament. It's none of the messed up stuff, but it's based on the, something that we would say. Some of your passwords are based on the Bible. So you're going to get, that's the only part that, you still have to deal with.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. And that's what I wanted to know too, because like if I'm going to, and I'm not even saying I'm going to join or not, because I don't know, man. Like I said, the other stuff is really making it more of a conflicting choice for me, because I don't know what I'm about to get myself into.
Well, I can't tell you everything you're gonna get yourself into, but I can tell you this: you get yourself into a brotherhood where you may not. Give you an example. I was on a cross-country motorcycle ride with my brother. My motorcycle broke down right before you cross this bridge to go into Memphis. We was like, there was no exit near us. I gave it a distress signal, and within 5 minutes, a brother pulled over on the side of the highway. Well, not side of the highway, on the frontage road. He took me to go get another battery for my bike, made sure we got the battery installed, made sure I got on the road, gave me his information, told me if anything else happens while I was in Memphis to give him a call. And he will do whatever he possibly can to make sure that I'm okay. So the fact that you have a brotherhood with people that it changes the functionality in life. I've had police officers pull me over and say, look, I see that he says some stuff to me. I respond to him back, and he was like, you ain't supposed to be speeding. I'm like, I'm gonna give you this warning. There's some benefits, is what I'm saying. But you are the same way towards others. Like, if I'm driving down the street and I see somebody letting me know that they're in distress the way a Mason would, I'm stopping. Unless I'm in a position where I can't stop, I'm stopping. I'm gonna help this brother. That's just the brotherhood.
And that's me naturally, man. Like I always, I want to say, I want to use this example as saying choosing my battles wisely. Sometimes I'm on my way to work or something like that, and I'll see somebody trying to push their car, or
Right.
something like that. I just use that particular example. I actually got out. I was ended up being late. I tried to talk to management and explain to them I was just trying to be a good Samaritan and help out. They didn't care, obviously. But so I didn't get my time back from being late. But I did help that person out. Felt good about it. And I often do things like that. It's just like my natural character, I guess, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm wondering, like, does anybody who's like naturally innately good, quote unquote good, so to speak, or just will get a shirt off, your back to somebody else, do you even have to join a fraternity like that to still be that good person, if that makes any sense? I mean, I guess I kind of know the answer in the sense that,
No, you can still be that person, but just understand that the idea is to make good men better. So it's to make you a better person than you already are. And then and somebody just posted something that makes me that'll help bring this back to our conversation, to the conversation. So this dude Miko just said, but you have to sell out the rest of your people to get those perks. People not as away used to not.
The comment
but
section. Okay.
Yeah, in the comment section. So here's the thing.
He might have been away.
He probably did. But I would rather the world become Masons and Eastern Stars before they join a religion, because religion keeps separation, just like race keeps separation. Right now, I know that as a black man, I got certain trials that I got to go through that other people don't have to go through. Right. But the thing about Masonry is that I have been in situations where people, they want to hate me because I'm black, but then they find out I'm a Mason and all that goes away. Now I know they still gonna be racist to the next black person, but and I always think, and I said this to this gentleman, this happened like 7-8 years ago. I said, if me being a Mason takes away your racism towards me, and then I quoted some stuff from the books that we read, and I said, so shouldn't that make you not be a racist, period?
I agree.
And then I reminded him of the treaty that was signed by the PSA and the Blue Lodge. And I said, now the treaty was signed, so that's letting you know that Masonry as a whole, even though it used to be, there was some racism in the past, it's saying racism is not part of Masonry. Right. And then we was and this all happened at this meeting where there were Masons from all over the world. I'm talking all over the world, bro. When they did the kind of a table of nations type situation, you saw it wasn't 154, like there's 154 countries, but it was like 70, 80 countries represented at this event. And and think about it, all these people from different walks of life, different cultures, but in a situation that doesn't require anybody to believe in one God, we were all there as brothers.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing.
But if you try to do that religiously, it will never work, because everybody thinks their God, their religion is the only one and the right one, and everybody else is going to hell.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with these stories, like especially the Old Testament stories, because the Israelites are the chosen people. So everybody else is just a redheaded stepchild, as we like to say. Right. So that's the bullshit that's why religion needs to be dealt with and done away with.
No, I agree, man. Actually, I felt that it made me growing up, people from the Bible Belt and Mobile, and it just made me a mean person, man. It really did. It made me very judgmental, mean, made me feel like I was right all the time, super arrogant. I read it front to back, and I'm telling people this, and this. Now I find myself going against it, and I won't say completely, but just, pointing out the inconsistencies and the weird stuff that I felt was kind of different. So no, yeah, I appreciate it. It's something maybe it was something maybe I'm like, this guy, he gives off that Masonic type feel. This is why I popped back in. Because, like I said, I think our last correspondence, you know what I said? I think I remember what it was. I think I was talking about matriarchy and how, what if God was a woman opposed to a man, and how Scripture talks about his characteristics as if he was like motherly and things of that nature. And I just kind of went in a whole tangent on the whole matriarchy of things, for the divine feminine. And I think it wasn't like a heated argument, but I just think we talked along on it. You kept going back and forth. And I think you had some shit to do, and you popped up out of there.
If you call me, you catch me towards the end, like today when it gets around 4 o'clock, I'm out of here. I don't care who I'm talking to. I'm out of here.
I mean, what would you say? I mean, I know you obviously it's going to be my decision ultimately, and nobody can tell me what to do and whatnot. And I know you can't tell me much about it.
No, I would say that you would be a good candidate for it, and then you're going to find out that a lot of the negative things that you've heard from other people that they just outright lies. Oh, and they do like some of the things in the Bible. A person outside of it will read something. Like some of our books are open to the public. They'll read this. They'll read the part about, oh, you riding a goat, and they'll take that as you're worshiping the Baphomet, and you on a literal goat, and you worshiping the devil. The idea of the term riding a goat came along long before the Baphomet was ever created. Baphomet is I think it was created in the 1600s or 1800s, somewhere around in there was the Baphomet created. But Masonry has been around way longer than that. And that ideology, that's the symbology of riding the goat has a totally different meaning.
Gotcha. Okay. I got one more question. It's kind of similar to what we were saying.
All right, this is your last one.
Yes,
got some more people.
I got you. So Rosicrucianism, because it's a whole century older than Freemasonry, and for me, the only book he already shaking me. Okay, talk to me. Let me know what's your thoughts on Rosicrucianism.
So Rosicrucian,
sorry about that.
Rosicrucians came out after Freemasonry. So yeah, think about it. The Rosicrucians came out in around the time frame that the Knights Templars were betrayed by the King of Spain and the Pope. And Rosicrucian came in. Masonry had already been around before that.
So I thought it was 1600s.
Yeah, in the 1600s. That's what
Rosicrucian, and then Masonry was like 1717. Right?
So you're thinking about when the Lodge of England, the Blue Lodge of England, was truly formalized. But Masonry had been around before that. Masonry goes all the way back to the builders of the Egyptian pyramids. Well, not the main pyramids, but the Egyptian temples and other Levantian temples. So it goes all the way back, but mainly the Egyptian temples and the Egyptian rites. It goes all the way back to the tradesmen who had the ability to build these temples. And that's where it comes from. It comes from these tradesmen. That's why a lot of the things are, well, pretty much everything is geared towards builders, because that's where. So it started long. It's had different names. So that might be part of it. And you have to, when you get, it's the deeper digging that you can do once you're there, that you can find out that you get into how it connects back to ancient Egypt, to ancient Mesopotamia, and all of that stuff. It just
find that within the first 3 degrees, or you got to go
in. Nah, you ain't gonna find that in the first 3 degrees, no. But you don't have to do anything else to find that out. Once you get there, you have access to find out.
Okay.
You'll have the access.
Join the other appendant bodies. I have that access.
You ain't got to join the other appendant bodies. I mean, you can. The Shriners get deeper into it, but you can do it. Once you get to that 3rd degree, you have access to the libraries.
Okay, and then you can do your own study.
And you can, it's a lot of requesting of information, but yes, you can do your own studies, because that's one of the things I did. I requested a ton of information, because if I'm gonna be a part of something, I got to know it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess so you used the Tao, right? You said the Tao, and there was one other you said before that.
The Corpus Hermeticum.
Yes, sir. Corpus Hermetica.
Yeah, and just to piss off people sometimes, just to mess with them. I ain't even trying to piss them off, just to be funny. I've used the Bhagavad Gita. I've used the Vedics. I've used damn near every book I could think of, just because I wanted to validate that you do not have to be a Christian. You do not have to do this stuff based on the Bible. No.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll figure it out. I received the petition. Just I guess I got to figure out if I want to find out. So
yeah, it's one of those things that you can only learn so much outside. It's not until you get inside that you actually learn it. I've never met any.
It's beneficial for the family as well, or just myself, or
no, it's beneficial for your family.
Okay,
it is.
Oh, and you were gonna say something. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, other than some dogmatic Christians, I've never met anybody else who regretted going through it.
Okay. And that's and that's the only thing I see. Every time I see someone talk negatively about it, or that they ended up leaving, they spoke heavily on Christianity and said it just bothered them and it was messing with their Christianity, so to speak. So
yeah, and they're usually under a pastor who dogs it out. You know, they listen to all the negative stuff. It's kind of like if you go back and you listen to all the negative people. If you're I don't know if you're married or not, since you mentioned family. If you sat around a bunch of people who dog the shit out your wife, after a while, you're going to start thinking that your wife ain't shit.
Yeah.
So
it's the company that you keep, I guess.
It most certainly is. All right, man.
I appreciate that word, man. Keep doing what you're doing. I'll tap up for you and talk about it here, man.
Appreciate that. You have a good one.
Yeah.
Can never stay on subject. Shit, I know how to say this, but I'm about to say it wrong. McTime. McTime. That's what it is. McTime. McTime, you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Well, you keep changing your damn name.
Yeah. It's McTime, man. McTime. You just Mac, man. You can't play me like Pac-Man, man. Get it right. What's
my
up?
bad,
What's up, man?
How you doing?
Can we just straight from the topic, or we got to stick to the topic that you got on the board up there?
I would like to stick to the topic, but since I let the other guy straight
right.
from the topic, what you got?
What?
I let him straight from it, so go ahead.
Oh, all right. Well, I want to talk to you because I've been trying my hand. I've been trying to channel my inner coach. And I've been on a couple of YouTube streams, been on the panel debating Christians. And there's one guy, he was bringing up this argument where he was trying to say, hold on, let me turn my fan on. I don't know if the fan was too loud for you.
It's not.
Yeah, but I just turned it off anyway, so it should be better now. But he was saying that around the 1950s, the U.S. secular government was more like taken over by the atheists, and they changed the meaning of separation of certain church and state. And then what my argument to that was, well, even if that's true, it seemed like that's when the United States took off, because around about the 1950s, after World War II, that's when we surpassed Britain with the British pound as the world standard, and we became a superpower in the world. I mean, is that what's your thoughts about that?
Well, in the 1950s, no secular organization took over the United States government. If anything, in the 1950s, that's when we started putting in God We Trust on our money. And what is now Christian nationalism, that's where I would say the seeds of that was first sown in.
But you got to keep in mind, this was a Christian. This was a Christian with that argument. I didn't believe a word of it, but I just worked with it.
It sounds like a person who is a Christian nationalist, and they want to make it seem like America has gone away from God. So they got to pinpoint a time frame in order to suggest that, because they like to say that America was founded on Christian ideals or as a Christian nation, when America was never formed as a Christian nation.
Yeah,
which is evident by the Constitution, the Federalist Paper, and the Treaty of Tripoli. America was never formed as a Christian nation.
That's what I told him. But you know that was his argument, right? Because and then I even took a step back and pointed out through the vastness of deep time from 2,000 years ago from Jesus, Christianity pretty much had control of the Western Hemisphere, and they presided over witch trials, black plagues, a dark age, and insurrections, crusades, you name it, and slavery too, because slavery ended after about 100 years after the Declaration of Independence, which establishes the secular principle of separation of state and church, right?
Well, the Declaration of Independence doesn't establish the separation of church and state. It is Article 1 of the United States Constitution.
Yeah, that's why I mean the Constitution.
Yeah, that one, that's what established the separation between church and state. And then it was further pushed by Thomas Jefferson in his letters, and which is where we get the terminology of a wall of separation between church and state. But
yeah,
so it was that was established long beforehand. But what they try to do is rewrite history to say that because the founders, the majority of the founders were Christians, and the majority were, but not all of them were Christians, that America was founded as a Christian nation. But those founders adopted the U.S. Constitution, which was supported by the Federalist Papers, which never mentioned God. And the papers the essays that was written against the Constitution are the ones that mentioned God and wanted America to be a theocracy and not have separation between church and state.
Yeah, and see, and my point is, I see it as more than a coincidence that Christianity had control of the Western Hemisphere for over 2,000 years, and they never got rid of slavery. But almost immediately after, compared to Christians, how long Christians had the control of the government, that almost immediately after the Constitution, 100-something years later, they abolished slavery. I think that's more than a coincidence. And then you look at it like you look at the quality of life index juxtaposed to the religiosity of a nation or a state. The more you have believers, the worse your quality of life is. The lower your damn property taxes, they just bring everything fucking down. I mean, you know, I don't know how you look at it. I'm gonna go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
I mean, you're right. They so a little less than 100 years after we had the Civil War, which the Confederacy fought the Civil War because they wanted to maintain slavery. And in the proclamations written by Jefferson Davis, he quoted multiple parts of the Bible when stating that the South has a right to slavery based on the Bible. And within the Confederate Constitution, it says that they are fighting this war over their right to have slaves. So, I mean, it was Christians fighting on both sides.
Yeah. I'm not blaming Christianity for slavery. It was just stupid people in ancient times doing stupid stuff.
Yeah, but then what happens is that the morality of the world, because of, I mean, let me tell you what ended slavery truly around the world is moving away from agricultural nations to industrialized nations. When you have an agricultural nation, slavery becomes somewhat of a necessity in order to, once the population get to a certain size, slavery becomes a necessity for those people in their mind. In an agriculture, once we started industrializing, once industrialization happens and we started using machines and things of that nature, slavery starts to now can be seen more philosophically than a need for economic and civilizational development. So that's what killed slavery in truth.
Well, that's interesting because then, having said that, how much do you factor in the separation of church and state with abolishing slavery? How much did that have how much did that help?
Wait a minute, say that again.
What you just said with the advent of the industrialized nation and the industrial area, how much did separation of church and state play into abolishing slavery when you add those factors?
Well, the separation of church and state really doesn't play much of anything into that. So like England, so let's look at England, for example. England abolished slavery a good 60 years before it was abolished in America, right?
Okay, and they were still
and they still had a king. And the king was
Okay.
still he was head of state and he was head of the religion. There was no separation of church and state for England at the time frame.
All
And
right.
so but England industrialized long before, about 70, 80 years before America. So with them moving towards industrialization, that's why the slavery ended in England beforehand. And church and state were not separate.
That's interesting. So you say it's majority industry that did it.
For the most part, it's
Well,
industrialization.
I like to think that the separated church and state foster the environment where people can have different thoughts, because you got to remember, and that was another point I brought up. Science works better now that they got all them damn Christians out of it. I mean, not just Christians, but the less believers they have in whatever religion, the better it seems science work. Because like look at Newton. Newton is like one of he's like the best of us, one of the smartest people that's probably ever walked the planet. Him and Einstein, right? And Newton couldn't figure out the relativity of space and time, because he thought the relativity of space time, because he thought space and time was absolute and objective like his God. So I think he could have figured out relativity 400 years before Einstein if he would have let go of the idea of absolute and objectiveness, because he thought it was like his God.
I would agree with you on that one, that religion has, even though some religious people have made great strides in science,
It's time.
When you think about them in their totality and competition, you're always in competition with yourself. So it's not Einstein, it's not Isaac Newton compared to everybody else around that time frame, but Isaac Newton compared to Isaac Newton. You give an Isaac Newton that is not religious, and he probably does come up with a lot more than what he came up with. What he came up with, I think, but he probably came up with more shit.
But look though, Coach. If that's the best of it, if that's what it does to the best of it, what it do to everybody else? I mean, he's a very smart man. What it do to all the simple-minded people like me? You carrying this burden of all these talking snakes and donkeys and shit in your head instead of something that you can really use to help mankind and society. What does it does to the simple man?
It makes the simple man dumber.
It's
funny you brought that up, because I saw a graph today, and that graph was showing how science and technology was on a natural growth spurt, and then when the Dark Ages happened, science and technology dipped almost to Stone Age levels as far as growth. And it wasn't until the industrial age, where the Renaissance, it picked up, it started picking up. And then industrialization, it like lost its mind. And then with the computer chip, it's just way the hell out there.
Well, and then what I was gonna say, now I forgot. To be honest with you, Coach, I do believe that if the Dolphins was to rise up out of the seas, they would probably beat us with all these Christians. And maybe we get rid of some of these Christians, we could probably beat the Dolphins. But I don't think we can beat Dolphins.
I'm not going.
They got sonar, we got faith. They got sonar, we got faith, Coach. But that guy, to end his argument, he called me a slave, and it kind of it don't really bother me. I think it was another black guy. He was a Christian. It don't really bother me, but I'm looking at like, you the one that worships stuff and live in fear. I'm not doing any of that. If anybody should be a slave, that's you. Don't they Bible talk about they're a slave to their Lord or something?
Yeah, it does. It said that when you stop being a slave to sin, you become a slave to God. That's something that I think Paul wrote that.
So yeah, so he's the one. I guess he was just projecting on me, but I just find it very interesting. I wanted to bring some of that note. I'm trying to channel my inner coach. Coach, I'm on now. I'm representing the home team, and it get kind of hectic out there.
Now you channel your inner Mac time. Let me go to some other people,
I got that.
Let me get some of these other people.
I got that down pat.
At about around 4:00 Central Time, I got to get off there. I got to hit the gym.
Well, I'm gonna keep it short. I want to. I don't know if you saw that chat, that post I put the other day. I don't think you really care much. I ain't gonna say like I don't mean like you don't care, but you to me, you seem like you just a chill dude in your happy home, and you do this YouTube stuff when you feel like it, just a waste of a couple few minutes. You're not trying to be like no debate bro and have no channel and all this. That's just my take on you. And I would just want, I was trying to tell this other guy that, because he was talking about that was that one guy that you talked to and his phone got all bad the other day, and you had to cut that off because it would hurt my ears too. He was trying to force his case for Christ and whatever. And I seen you tried to listen to him, but he got in the chat and he was talking bad about you, like you was trying to silence him and all that stuff. And I was like, look, man, the man, he does what he does. He probably ain't got the top of the line equipment that does all that stuff like everybody else, because he don't really give a fuck. He just come on in and do what he want to do when he want to do it. And I'm glad you do it, Coach, because I'll be paying attention.
Appreciate it. And you're absolutely right. There have been times I thought about doing this, how I would do a business. Which means that I put more into it. Shit, the only reason I got this microphone, I didn't go out and buy this damn microphone. It was gifted to me because I was doing the show on the Atheist Experience, and they was like, "You need a better microphone," and I was like, "Really?" And then they were like, "Tell you what, we got a guy that's close to you. He'll give you a microphone." That's the only reason why I got this microphone. I went and bought this damn thing because I do take this is a hobby.
I got you, man. Now, I mean, I didn't want to put words in your mouth. That's why I want to come up and talk about, spend a little time on that, because I didn't want to put words in your mouth. But yeah, that's how my take on you. Remind me of one of them player old schools that's around the way that fuck with you when it feels like it. But other than that, you just stay on it over there, and I just do my thing. You know what I'm saying? That's what you remind me of.
If I did this as a business, I would put a lot more time and energy into it. There are some moments where I do feel like I should do this as a business, because I do think that I know it ain't a thing, because I did it. There was a time frame where I did treat this more like a business, and I made good money. You know, I ain't gonna lie, I made good money on social media. And there are time frames where I do think that I want to do this as a business, but it will be another business that is a hobby for me, and I'm just doing it. It's not a business that I have a passion about.
If you ever do decide to make this your business or whatnot, I will be there to like and subscribe and do what I can to help you grow. But I appreciate what you're doing right now, man. You are out here speaking truth to really it's truth to power, because they're running every goddamn thing. Again.
Well, are you a member? Are you a member of the channel?
I think I subscribe to you.
No, not subscribe. Like, so what are you on, YouTube or Facebook?
I'm on YouTube.
So did you join the membership on YouTube? The mid-level membership?
No, sir. To be honest with you.
Well, there you go.
To be honest with you, I haven't had the finances to spend on stuff like this.
It's $5. It's $5.
All right. I will.
$5 a month. You wasted $5 yesterday.
No, to be honest with you, no, I didn't. I didn't.
Okay, you wasted $5 this month. How about that?
I know I did that, yeah. Yeah, you ain't lying, but
convenience store and you bought a soda, you wasted almost $5.
That's all I've been drinking, because hey, I'll tell you one thing: drinking sugar water and stuff is better than starving.
Let me put it like this. Let me put it like this. This is how the business people. This is how the business people do it. Just this channel could really use your support, and goes a long way towards me being able to produce this content that I'm producing right now, and I'll be able to produce even more content and get more advanced equipment. All it'll cost you being a member is one Starbucks a month. That's it. Just one Starbucks a month. If you can go one Starbucks, one Coca-Cola, one arbitrary purchase a month and dedicate it towards this channel, then I can bring you more value than that Coca-Cola or that Starbucks would ever bring you. So
that's right.
Become a member or a subscription holder, or join the fan club.
For the price of a cup of coffee a month, you can tell a Christian to go fuck themselves.
Yep.
But I won't keep you any longer, sir. Sir?
Yeah. If everybody went out and did that, I will start creating programs and classes and books, well, booklets, not a whole book, but a booklet. I'll start creating all kind of material. if people
So
were
it's
becoming
official then, Coach.
members.
It's official. If you start seeing the return you want to see, you're gonna get in this more professionally.
There it is. If I see the return I would like to see, then I will put forth all that energy, because I know when I first started this back in the day, I did put forth all that energy with no return. And I was like, well, let me focus on my popcorn shop. And then I built my cigar lounge because that was providing me what I needed. But y'all want to see me put in 8 hours a day of work, with 3-4 hour lives that you can count on going to be on at a certain time on certain days and all of that, and putting out free classes as well as paid classes and pamphlets and all that sort of stuff. Support the channel. Show me that that's what you want.
You
But
get
if
that chat?
not,
Let's make it happen. Let's get Coach in the game.
I'm
We're gonna
cool
win the
either way.
championship.
I don't even seek out interviews with people no more, because I'm like, I ain't got time for that. I'm finna take all. You know how hard it is to get people to get on your show for interviews?
Well, kind of now. I've been helping a friend out. She's starting her show up on YouTube, and we don't hardly have people to interview, so we mostly just debate ourselves. We got a thing going on now. I call it nacho morals. They subjective versus the atheist version of objective versus subjective morals. I call objective morals nacho morals, because objective morals is not your morals. Your morals are subjective. Everybody else's. That's what I call it. But I don't know how you follow on that debate, and I don't want to open a whole nother can of worms. I know you got other people.
I'm gonna let some other people get on here.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate the time, and thank you, sir.
Appreciate you. Later. Yeah, there's a way. And I know sometimes people, if I was talking to somebody about business and I would tell them you got to put it out there first, and you got to make it where people want to do it, and so on and so forth, and advertise but I've been doing this long enough that if just by me saying that, if you want a hell of a lot more than for me to treat this as I would treat a business, which means that I will devote a much more tremendous time to this and provide more information and provide a whole bunch of stuff. Now I got to see the evidence first, because I've been doing this for way too many years. Way too many. I don't know who's next. I'm just gonna start pressing stuff over here on the tick, as Trump say, the tic tac. That shit cracked me up. He said, I got more tic tac followers than anybody. I'm number one. What's funny, the number one guy on TikTok is that dude who does that. I hear somebody. How you doing? How did they switch to that? Yard? Are you over 21? How'd you get on my show?
What up, bro?
How you doing? Did you mean to come on this show?
I'm from Jamaica, bro.
Okay. Was it your intent to come on my show? How the hell did he do that? Some dude just jumped on my live and I didn't click on nothing. Got to figure out this. See, this tic tac be tripping. Oh, I know what happened. I was trying to click on the people who was in the waiting room, but I think everybody cleared out. And so when I hit invite somebody. So I don't think there's anybody in the TikTok waiting room right now. Nope, there's not. I don't know what happened. Have no idea. Anyway, I see that this is going to be one of those continued conversations into the next day, because we've only scratched the surface of today's conversation. I'm curious, how many of y'all would like for me to treat this more like a business and like write pamphlet books, create paid classes, non-paid classes, And non-paid classes really would be like classes for members and subscription holders. So how many of y'all would like to see that? Oh, Lord. Fred Adams hit the link. And once again, Fred, the message that I get says you need to connect your microphone and / camera before you can be added to the show. Connect your microphone or your camera. Now, for those of you who do not know, Fred is special. And for some reason, Fred does not know how to connect his microphone or his camera. My wife just sent me a message. Hold on. I'd see what my wife wants to say. Did slavery ever happen? I don't think so. What slavery? The slavery of Exodus? No, that never happened. The Exodus slavery never happened. Yeah, I don't think Fred is real. Fred might be a bot. Because how is it that he can't connect his microphone? Yeah, the Exodus slavery that never happened. There's absolutely no evidence that the Exodus ever happened. Moses is not a historical figure. The Israelites being in Egypt at any time frame before the 1200s never happened. So no, never happened. Was there slavery in other parts of the world happening? Yes. Look. Fred said, I need a new phone. Sorry, sir. You've been saying that for like 6 months, 7 months. You've been saying that for 6-7 months. I need a new phone. You still ain't got a new phone. You need to stop lying, Fred. That's a violation of your Bible. Is the lies that you keep telling on here. But yeah, Exodus never happened. It's never happened. Moses never parted any Red Seas. These plagues never happened in Egypt. If the plagues had happened in Egypt, Egypt's economy would have been utterly destroyed, which would have then destroyed the economy of everyone else in the Mediterranean. You'd have seen the overwhelming majority of the Mediterranean go through a depression. But there is the only time frame we see that's close to an Exodus time frame is the Bronze Age collapse. And we know that the Bronze Age collapse has absolutely nothing to do with the Israelites. The Bronze Age collapse happened. Most think it's a combination of drought and other weather things and just too much and war. So, but that happens around 1000 BCE. Mother Teresa.
Mother Tamika.
Oh, Tamika, my bad. I'm so sorry. I apologize for that. Because I was gonna say you might want to change that. You don't want to be Mother Teresa.
No.
How are you over? I'm doing all right. You're over 21, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And are you a believer?
Well, I used to be.
Okay.
I was raised up in the church with 2 so-called pastor parents, and I love what you're doing because it's some of us that's been on the other side that got lost from Christianity or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it took me to realize how evil the people was that was raising me, because if a wall white and if they say it's purple, it's purple. So a lot of stuff in religion, it was forced on me. And so
Mhm.
once I started kind of growing up and seeing that a lot of it wasn't real, my breaking point with deconstruction is when I start doing a study on 325 BC. When they started,
Mhm.
I guess putting the Bible together, and I looked up Lucifer's name, and when I did, it
Wait.
said Bishop Lucifer, and I was confused.
Okay.
And so when I typed it
Hold
in my phone
Uh-huh.
and looked up the name, he was a real living person. He was there in 325 BCE when they started putting the Bible together, but he didn't agree with what Constantine was saying, so he was vilified. And when you actually, if you could take time and you could look it up, they sent him to they sent him to Africa, but when you actually sit and read everything, ain't no way you gonna trick me and tell me he was an angel. And when in churches they call the bishops the angel of the house. And so when I went to look deeper, his body over there in Caligari, Italy.
Mhm.
He died he died over there, his body over there. You know, you got people that knew he was a person, because remember, we over here in America, stuff that happened overseas and stuff, a lot of us, we don't know what's going on. But when I found out the lie, the Lucifer lie, when I found out he was a bishop in the church and he was there when they was putting the Bible together, I don't believe nothing now. Because if you gonna lie about the biggest villain in the Bible and he was an actual breathing person like me and you, I can't believe nothing else.
So let me give you some clarifications, if you don't mind.
Go ahead. Of course, I don't mind.
So the clarification is this. So the Council of Nicaea, which is the council that you're talking about in 325 CE, that they didn't canonize the Bible at that time frame. The main emphasis of the Council of Nicaea was to establish a Roman dictated order for Christianity and to clarify who Jesus was, because the biggest issue was infighting amongst Christians at the time, and the Orthodox Christians were trying to teach a Trinity, whereas you had more Gnostic Christians and Lucian Christians who were, and this is from a guy named Lucian, but his main person at this time frame was Arius. Arius was out of Egypt, and Arius was saying that Jesus was not a part of the Trinity, but he is a God-created being. So that was the biggest argument, and out of that came the Nicene Creed. Now, at that time frame, you did have a guy named Bishop Lucifer out of Sardinia, Italy. Bishop Lucifer, he fought for the Nicene Creed. He thought that Jesus and the Trinity was all one great thing. And it wasn't uncommon at that time frame. You know how they call the little choir boys and all that kind of stuff? It wasn't uncommon to call little boys Lucifers, because they only looked at the word Lucifer as a light bringer. It is not until around 405 when the Vulgate, which is the Latin version of the Septuagint, was put together, the Latin version of the Bible, I should say, of a Bible was put together, that then Lucifer out of Isaiah was translated to mean the devil. So you have a bishop and boys called Lucifer, but it was a good thing. The Bible then was canonized somewhere around 369, 370. Once that got canonized and then converted about 20, 30 years later into Latin, that's when the name Lucifer started meaning the devil for them. So they didn't.
I still don't believe it's real, I don't believe Christ existed. I do believe in the process of the crystals that the woman has every month when the pineal gland leaves and you got egg that goes down. I believe in that's the Christ.
Okay.
A physical person as of the Christ,
Mhm.
because if the actual physical, you know how in Genesis, you know the original word from Genesis, parthenogenesis. And if you gonna change, I look at the big changes in the Torah. The word parthenogenesis, that means a woman was having a baby by herself. She didn't need male intervention.
That cannot happen. That is an impossibility among mammals. That's just a scientific impossibility amongst mammals. No female mammal has ever and cannot have a child on their own.
Okay, so when you take the partheno off, you just have the word Genesis, the beginning of what, you know. Okay. Respectfully, am I allowed to? I do believe in parthenogenesis, but as a man, I can understand why you would say it can't happen, because truly, you know, you're not a woman.
It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter if I was a man. It doesn't matter if I'm a man or a woman. Like I was telling the guy earlier, I just go wherever the information takes me. I don't have a predetermined landing point, so I don't have this patriarchal mindset. If it was possible for women to have
if I can show you proof it existed, marry the proof that it existed.
What's the proof? Mary?
The example that they give about Mary, not saying Mary existed, but I'm saying the example that they gave.
Mary is not even an example. No, it's not. Mary is an example of how in that time frame they believed that gods would come down and have sex with women and have babies.
No, that was parthenogenesis. That was parthenogenesis, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna land my plane and I'm gonna agree to disagree, and I'm gonna tell you thank you, because I've been listening to you for a couple of days, and a lot of stuff I do agree with, some stuff I don't agree with, but thank you for beginning the deconstruction conversation.
I appreciate that. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you.
All right. I understand that there's a section of thought. To me, is part of, how can I put this? Because I appreciate what she was saying. And I agree. I gave her the clarifications on 325 and Bishop Lucifer because I wanted her to be able to express it historically accurately. I still agree that the Roman Church came and took what was already a messed up religion and made it worse. And that all their political involvements is definitely a justification and reason to question the Bible and pretty much walk away from it as you get deeper and deeper into it. So I'm glad that she's going deeper and deeper into it. I just wanted her to have clarification on Bishop Lucifer and the timing of how words change the meanings. Kind of like how we use the word awful now only has a negative connotation, but in 1600, the word awful had a good connotation to it. It meant it still means full of awe, but it was full of awe of something great, but now it's full of awe of something negative, like a storm. So I just wanted her to have the clarification on what happened in 325 in Bishop Lucifer, and then the Vulgate, which changed, is when they merged the serpent, Satan, Lucifer, the beast, all into one being, right? Now, as far as parts of Genesis is concerned, that is part of it. And I remember I dated a woman who was thinking this way as well. And I'm not saying that Mother Tamika is the same type of person, but part of it is there's a philosophy of thought that is growing amongst women, especially Black American women, where the idea of the woman is God, women can create without men, that there are these internet people who have been putting out all these videos claiming that parthenogenesis is a reality. And to use the mythological stories as an example of it is somewhat intellectually dishonest, because Mary, the story of Mary is based on the fact that in those time frames when they was writing these stories, they believed that gods came down and had sex with women, and those were these miracle births. This is what created Hercules, Achilles, Alexander, Romulus. They would say that they were born from some type of thing like that. Tyana of Apollonius of Tyana. His mother had sex with a sea creature. I said Alexander. It was Apollonius of Tyana, whose mother had sex with a sea god. I forgot the god that it's a different god for Alexander. So let me clarify that. But this thought, but when we look at science, we know that no mammal, see, you can look at a story, but scientifically, no mammal can produce within itself. There's no such thing as parthenogenesis within mammals. Every part of scientific, and then scientific evidence proves that. And then there's only a few reptilians who can do that, who can do parthenogenesis. So it doesn't work. And it's this thing of, it's kind of like the Hebrew Israelites. You want to make yourself superior. And I think that keeps people from being more enlightened when you believe in something without facts, utilizing fairy tales to then say that you believe this to be true, that it stops your growth. And I understand Black women in America have been through so much and are still going through a lot. And it's kind of like how the Hebrew Israelites want to jump on to that 400 years of slavery to make themselves feel better. Don't let something that creates more separation, that be your thing to make you feel better. I don't care as a man. Me being a man has nothing to do with it. If women could reproduce without a man, if that was a fact, if they could do that, then that'd be what it is. That still would have nothing to do with connection, with relationships, with companionship. And I think a lot of that comes from the problem of having companionship, a good one, because most people are walking around with a bad companion. Most of y'all relationships suck. Cedric the entertainer. Hello, Cedric. I can barely hear you. Are you over 21? Is incredibly low. I need you to speak up louder because you're speaking into the same mic that I'm speaking into. It's a little bit better. So you're over 21. Are you a believer?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do you have something about the subject matter?
I was just curious. I'm just listening. I like to listen a lot, try to get much knowledge as I can before I, step in with something.
Okay.
But all of these things you're saying, I do believe in. And like a lot of this stuff that they telling us is just not truths, but they've been pounding it into us. So a lot of us just believe in whatever they tell us. And I'm not one of those.
Okay. So then why do you believe in the Bible? I'm assuming, is it the Bible that you believe in?
Somewhat yes, somewhat no, because like a lot of this stuff they're telling us, I think we're getting half truths, not the total truth.
Okay. So like some of the prompts that I got up there, what's a truth?
I forgot what you with the Israelites.
That the what?
Israelites.
I mean, what about them? What about the Israelite that's the truth?
I just feel like the people that saying they're Israelites and so forth and so on, it's not melanated. It's really not Israelites.
I don't think.
Israel.
Right. Okay. I mean, to a certain extent, the ones who are claiming to be Israelites probably are not genetically Israelites.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they are, but they do.
No, they probably not. Most of them. I mean, you did have the time frame when the Roman Empire dispatched the Israelites all throughout the Roman Empire, and then of course other Romans in different areas adopted the religion, and so there will be very few that could link their DNA back to the Levant. So yeah, but the ones who are probably running things, probably not. Now the ones whose families have been there for countless generations, then those people are Levantians. They may have some of the DNA.
True.
Like the guy who's in charge right now, who is it, Netanyahu?
Yes.
Now, I don't know his family genealogy, but has he always been there? Or did he come there? Did his family come there in 1947?
I'm not for sure, but I would be thinking that his family came in 1947 or something. I don't
know. Let me see.
The whole time.
I might be able to look that. I might be able to find that out real quick. The whole problem is going to be spelling his damn name.
That's true.
Hopefully I spelled it close enough. I don't think I spelled it close enough. Let me see. Another way of doing it. Without having to spell his name. Damn, why is this messing up on me?
That just like we do.
What's that?
Computers have a mind of their own, just like we do.
I know. I've never thought to ask this question. So it's not something that I would have. I usually hold a lot of information that I research, and I usually research a whole bunch of information that I never talk about.
I've been following for a while. This is my first time on live.
Oh, so his mother and his father's family immigrated to Israel in 1920.
They was immigrants.
Yeah, so they immigrated there in 1920. So, and his paternal grandfather, he immigrated from Poland. Well, and his mother, she was born in Israel. She was born when it was called Palestine. So his father's family, they came from Poland. His mother's family were already in Palestine. It doesn't really break down how the any further than that. I'm sure I can go deeper.
Probably a little deeper, but
all right, to see if they were. Nope. His grandfather was a Polish in Belarus. I'm just doing a quick scan of it. I don't really see where. Let's see, his mother's family. She was born. She was born in Palestine. No, but her mother's family were they were Lithuanians and Polish and Belarus, and from Belarus. So her mother's family wasn't, even though she was born there, her mother's parents were not born there. So no, so his family lineage is European. And I would imagine that a majority of the people who are in charge over there were their family members came out of Europe. Now, the only thing that we can't know or don't know, because I've only met one person whose family actually kept records of when their family was kicked out during Titus's rule, when Titus defeated one in Judea, and they had like some documentations. Amazing that they did. Now, back then, I didn't care about keeping information like that, and it wasn't we didn't have the internet back then either.
Right.
So, and look, this was when I was still pen paling with people, just showing my age a little bit. But yeah, so I would imagine the majority, the Palestinians are probably the people that are closest to the ancient Israelites than anybody else, but they're going to have a ton of mixtures within themselves, mixing with Arabs, mixing with Europeans, mixing with a whole bunch of other people. I don't think anybody will be able to truly identify themselves with the Israelites of the first century CE and beyond. That would be very difficult. And I know we do the blood types and phenotypes and all that sort of thing, but we don't have any blood types of first century people, of 500 BCE people. And then you got to look at when they were under Greek rule. People gonna get some Greek in them. When they were under Persian, they got some Persian in them. When they was under the Babylonians, they got some of that. And when they was under the Assyrians, they got some of that. So they're going to have some mixtures all up in their bloodlines,
It's hard to come find a pure-blooded Israelite.
Yeah, I mean, shit, it's hard finding a pure-blooded anybody.
Yeah, but everybody been conquered at one time, almost they do.
Yeah.
Everybody just mixture. That's a big mixture.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I, as a black man in America, would love to say that my family is all, West African. No, there was a white man named John Reed way back in 1850. And on my grandmother's side, there was a Creek Indian man before, when they signed the treaty, the 5 Civilized Tribes Treaty. And then now, even though most of them had to leave during that whole Trail of Tears stuff, he stayed. Right. So, and he stayed and he married a black woman. There's a pinch of white and there's a pinch of European and there's a pinch of Native Americans. The overwhelming majority is West African, though. But can I tell you about any of those people? Hell no, they didn't keep those people. They didn't care about who they was getting on the boat. Like, oh, your name is Umbozi, and you coming from the Wayuda tribe or the Dahomey tribe or the Mali. Okay, we're gonna write your name. Now you was slave man number 1 that looks like you about 20 years old. You African woman number 23, you look like you about 18. And that's it. People saying they can barely hear you. That's why I asked you, yes, if you can speak up.
Yeah, I can't.
I mean,
My speaker up loud as it can go right now.
wait, you're fine. I just moved the phone. I normally don't have my phone in the camera of my other stream, but I put it in there. They can't hear you now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there's no pure blooded race anymore in this world.
I'll give you one.
Which one is it?
North Sentinel Island.
Okay.
Because they'll kill your ass if you try to step foot on their land.
That's the only one in the world, man.
These are some Southeast Africans that ain't had nobody bother them, ain't nobody mix with them. If you didn't come on the original trip over, way back whenever, thousands of years ago, you ain't part of them people. Them people been just by themselves.
And I wish that we could say that in so many words, you know. Every time we get something, it gets destroyed.
You would have to see. I understand the sentiment, but I can't agree with it. Let me tell you why. The world was, we will be living in a backwards ass world. I know a lot of hardships have come from exploration, colonization, enslavement, but if everybody had just stayed in their own lands and never left their own lands, then technology would not have advanced to the degree that we're at now. And I personally appreciate electricity, plumbing, AC. If I was, bruh, this garage would be 100 degrees if I didn't have AC.
I know that's right.
So yeah, there's a lot of effed up things that happen, but I appreciate the technology. And that can't, and if it wasn't for, I mean, it would be nice if exploration did not create colonization, didn't create all the wars.
Yes.
And we still were able, and no slavery, and we still were able to advance. But unfortunately, most innovations, war creates innovation.
Yes, that's why they always wanted war, because it created innovation, and then it also create revenue for whoever's at war.
Yeah.
You know, that's what the biggest thing with them is the revenue, I do believe.
Yeah. The hard part now is that we're growing more and more into an era of enlightenment where we can innovate without having war. You know, we look at problems and we solve them, and we have the world's knowledge to be able to do so. We still innovate certain things because of war, because of hardships, famines, things of that nature. But it would be great if we could just, you know, live a Star Trek life.
What you say? That used to be one of my favorite programs.
Yeah.
Coming up, Star Trek. Showing my age now.
Yeah, I would love to have been born about 2,000 years from now instead of now. I'm too damn early. I was supposed to have been born with replicators and flying cars and going into space with like no problem. I wasn't supposed to be born now, as far as I'm concerned.
About how things was when I was coming up, I was born in the 50s, mid-50s. So like my youngest son, he said, "Pops, you've seen just about and lived through a lot of stuff."
Yes, you have.
You know, so it amazes me how things have changed and how it's not as bad as it was. And I tell my boys all the time, "You're wrong. It's the same or worse."
Yeah.
You know, it's not physical; it's mental now.
Exactly, it is. It's all mental. It's everything is more mentally deprived, you know, mental anguish than it is physical anguish. There is still a lot of things we still got to work on physically in this world, and I think that. But one of the things is that, to go back to the subject matter, we got to get, religion has to go.
I do believe in that, because like I don't think, you know, I tell people, if somebody would come and enslave you, why would they give you something to help you get out of that?
Right, they wouldn't.
They give you something like that. Don't make no sense to me.
Right, and you know what's sad? A lot of Christians now will say, "Oh, they gave the slave Bible." The slave Bible. The slave Bible didn't come to the shores of America until 1806. The slave Bible was not in America. People got the Bible. They were just told what parts they could read and what parts they couldn't read. Like the one or two slaves who could read, they would only be able to teach the parts that the slave master told them. When the slave master was doing the reading, he only read the parts that kept them enslaved. They wasn't reading Exodus. Exodus was outlawed to be read. Now the slave Bible, which is the chop down and take a lot of those stories out, that was used in the Caribbean and in South America until and it wasn't, and it was pushed mainly. The main reason it got a push was because of the 1804 Haitian Revolution. That's when it was like, oh shit, we got to really push hard on keeping these slaves in a slave mentality.
Right. And then like a lot of times they will take some of the slave masters or whatever you want to call them, and they'll bring them over here to the Americans. Like Louisiana, and they would do all these weird things to the slave to try to keep them in line.
Oh yeah. Hey, buck break.
Yep.
I know you. I knew where you was going. I just let you know you can say it on my. I say whatever I want to say on this channel. But
I'm at the doctor's office. I got to go take her X-ray, but I will get back with you when I get done.
oh, okay. Appreciate it.
Okay, appreciate you.
All right. Good health. Man, at the doctor's office. Tough says I don't agree. It would be better. I don't know, Tough. I mean, the Romans did come up with some good plumbing and some aqueducts, so maybe plumbing would have been something that would have happened anyway. But would that have happened? Let's say I knew exactly my family members, and I knew exactly where in Mali and Ghana my family were. Ain't no guarantees they would have got the plumbing if there was no connection. I need this plumbing, man. I gotta have my AC. Oh man, but let's see. My wife told me she's gonna meet me at the gym, so y'all might get that's why I'm going a little bit over time because she's gonna meet me there. I started to tell her to just pick me up, but I just meet over there. Who else had heated floors? Man, you had some money. You had some heated floors. Let's see. Anybody? Let me see if there's somebody else in the waiting room before I. Okay. Nope. Nobody's in the waiting room. We didn't get to talk about the subject matter that much today. We didn't get to talk about that. I know. I think sometimes y'all just like for me to come live because y'all can argue with other people. Like, I don't care what he's talking about. I want to talk about what I want to argue with this person. Oh, Amanda said heated floors when it's 90 degrees out. No, I wouldn't have a heated floor now. But for those couple of weeks in San Antonio when it's cold, I take a heated floor. Oh, my wife must be listening. Hold on. Yep. I'm gonna have my wife pick me up because like she said about the 90 degrees, it's riding my motorcycle right now when it's 90 something degrees. That's not good. That's hot. That's hot. Even though I'm only riding it like for 10 minutes to get to the gym. It's hot. I don't want to ride this bike. Now, if it was 9 o'clock tonight, I ride it all day long when it's 89 degrees, 87 degrees here. But so that means that I'm going to be on here for probably another 30, 40 minutes. And then I'm rush home, change clothes, and the chemicals should be out of the house. We had the air ducts cleaned today. Yep. The air duct man came to clean the air ducts. That's why I started like 30, 40 minutes later than I wanted to. Had to let him in. Say I didn't talk about your topic, but you stole my Star Trek line. I know, man. I've been binging Orville. I was born at the wrong time. I don't want to be living. I would rather not live right now. The chemicals clean air. Yeah, he said that's what I don't know. That's what he told me. He said that he gonna clean the air ducts, but he'll be finished at 4, but give it an hour for the smell to leave for the chemicals. I don't know what chemicals he's spraying to clean air ducts. I don't know about cleaning air ducts. That's not a business I'm familiar with. It might be like I helped this dude start a business back in 98 where he went into restaurants and he cleaned their what the things over the oven, the filtration system, and he would spray some chemical up in there, and then that shit would just start melting down and coming out. Maybe there's a buy. I don't know if there's if you can create an all natural cleaner for air ducts, that'd be great. That's created. TP Seeker. If they're using chemicals to clean your air ducts, create a green type of cleaner for air ducts. I don't know if there's one already out there at a price point that is low enough so that you can compete with the chemical versions. You might have something there, and it don't have to be. I mean, when I say low enough to compete, let's say a 16-ounce bottle costs $20. The chemical version, you need to create one that you can sell for $25. Yeah, grease ain't dust. I know. That's my only experience, so that's all I could talk about is doing that. I don't know about cleaning duct system. I know they got to blow it out, but even when you blow it out, you're still gonna have like the remnants that's sticking to the air duct. So you got to do something to clean that out. Anyway, how are we talking about air ducts? But oh man. Yeah, y'all know I love business, so I can go off on a business tangent in a heartbeat. I can go. I don't know. Is there a natural cleaner for air ducts? See, now you got my curiosity up. Now I'm just all kind of curious about that. Now I'm curious, since nobody want to talk to me right now. For routine natural air dust cleaner, mix equal parts white vinegar and water in a spray bottle. Oh, that's getting up in there and cleaning it like by hand. How you gonna do that? I guess you get a big long ass pole. There are some cleaners out there. What about commercial? You gotta. I guess you need. There are some all natural things for commercial use. Huh. Why am I researching that? I don't have a client right now that wants to get into air duct cleaning, so why am I even looking at it? I got enough stuff to research for the client I do have. I say I'm not passionate. All right. Come on. We got about 20 minutes. Now we willing to talk about this subject matter. You can either put it in the chat. So let me say again, I want to thank everybody who does support the channel. If you want me to do this as a business, then I suggest that you become a member on YouTube, a subscription holder on Facebook, and you got to have. I need to see the proof in the pudding. Got to see the proof in the pudding. I don't see no super chats going on. I don't see no stars. Somebody did give a couple of gifts on TikTok. Thank you for the gifts. For me to give this the time and energy required to make this into a business and to do this at the volume that I would do it as a business, then put it that way. It's not to make it into a business, but the volume that I would then give, the time I would spend, the fact that I would wake up even earlier than I'm waking up now. I'm waking up earlier now so that I can have time to go to the gym. I don't wake up earlier to do this. Because like McTime said, this is a hobby. But your support would determine whether or not that happens. I always see people making claims. That's pretty much all people do make. The saddest part is that people don't make claims backed up by any supported information. Netanyahu is not even his real name, right? It's Eastern name. Yeah, I saw that, but I can't pronounce it. Milkovic. Is, yeah, it was like Milkovic. And it's interesting. That's why when I get the people who tell me, oh, I'm an Israelite. Where's your proof that you're an Israelite? Their proof is, oh, we're the children of Shem. See, Noah, only his 3 sons, and then they repopulated the planet. And then the line of Shem is what creates the Israelites. And so since Deuteronomy 48 said we're going to sail away on ships for 400 years, and the curses, we are the closest people to those curses. So it's definitely talking about us. Therefore, we the Israelites. I'd be like, as my grandfather would say, yo, black ass came from West Africa. We're no damn Israelites in West Africa. When Titus conquered Judea in 70 CE, he didn't send nobody to West Africa. He sent them all over to Northern Africa, into Italy and Spain and France, Britannia. Well, it wasn't in Britannia yet. Well, they might have been in Britannia, the first parts of Britannia. You know, you went all over the Mediterranean world. Yeah, black ass didn't no Israelites go down into Ghana and go into the Mali or the Ivory Coast. What the hell you talk about? Ain't nobody ever heard it. Ain't none of my ancestors ever heard of Yahweh. To that damn, the good ship Jesus showed up to put them in chains. That's when they heard about Yahweh. Before that, they ain't never heard about Yahweh. And if your family is indigenous to America, they ain't hear about no damn Jesus, Yahweh, until them pilgrims and Puritans start coming. And then after they came, then the settlers start coming. That's when they heard about Yahweh and Jesus. Damn Mormons be talking about some, oh, I found some golden plates, and the plates say that Jesus came to the Americas. Yeah, Jesus didn't come to no damn Americas. Where the plates at? Where the plates? Show me some plates. You know, if I was those first people that met, what's his name, Joseph Smith, I'd have been like, oh, you saw these plates? Really? It told you this? Where the plates at? I need to see them plates. I ain't believing this shit until I see some plates. Now, if you know you do a super chat, it will get read on the screen no matter what it says over there on YouTube. Thank you, brother, for all this information. You definitely don't learn this stuff in church. I read that so bad. Thank you, brother, for all the information. You definitely don't learn this stuff in church. You most certainly do not, and you most certainly will not. That is why I was kicked out of so many churches as a youth, because I kept questioning stuff. They kept saying stuff, and I was like, wait a minute. That don't make sense. The whole world was flooded. Everybody died. Then we are all mentally disabled, because that's a whole lot of inbreeding. What are you talking about? Shouldn't the polar bears died? How they get to the Levant? Wouldn't the elephants have all died if they was at the height of Mount Everest? How they still floating? Because anything at that height, any water would be frozen. There's not enough oxygen up there. And all those pastors be like, you a devil. Get out the church. Get out. Leave, you devil. Oh, I saw a stupid argument that the people who do the Israelite thing be saying. Where'd it go? Yeah. Right here. Can you name another people that was taken on ships and enslaved for 400 years? Here's the thing. Here's the thing. The Israelites who were kicked out of Judea were taken away on ships. A lot of them went to Egypt. Most of them went to Egypt. A whole bunch of other ones went to Rome and France and Spain, and Titus sent them on ships, and they were slaves. Oh, you want some other people who were slaves? The tea company that went to India, they grabbed up all those. They grabbed up a whole bunch of Indian people, and then they transported them to where? Africa, where they remained slaves for almost 400 years. Yeah. Or even before they started coming to the America, you had people out of Africa who were taken to Europe to be slaves before they started coming to America. And they were enslaved for over 400 years. And here's the thing. Nobody in America was enslaved for 400 years. Slavery in America started with the African in 1619. Slavery ended in 1865. That's not 400 years of slavery. So the claim that the Black American came to America and was enslaved for 400 years, no, you got to then say, well, Jim Crow, you know, that was slavery too. That was slavery too, Jim Crow laws. But Jim Crow laws ended in, what is that, 1965? So that's still not 400 years. You're just a little bit shy. Because the 400 years would have meant that we would have had to have been slaves since up until 2019. That means that I would have been born a slave. And I would have lived, right? I would have lived all the way to the middle of my life. Well, this ain't the middle because I'm gonna live for a long time. I would have lived for a large part of my life till 2019 as a slave. I don't recall being a slave in the 1980s and the 1990s and the 2000s and 2010s and 2010s, and so I wasn't a slave. So how you get 400 years there, Rupert? You see, the argument falls short when you try to say the 400 years, but slavery didn't last in America, in the United States, for 400 years. No, it didn't. It didn't. No. Oh, wait. So some of the first slaves that were taken out of Africa that went to the European countries, they would have been enslaved for over 400 years. They have a bigger claim than the Black Americans. They could be able to claim that better than Black Americans. This fool said in 1492 with Columbus to 1892 to the birth of Haile Selassie. How many years is that? Well, yeah, that's 400 years. But the problem is, you have a couple of problems with that one. They weren't bringing African slaves to the Americas in 1492. African slaves didn't come to the Americas till 1619. So you got a gap of time there, sir. Then slavery had ended in America, in the United States, in 1865. So Haile Selassie wasn't born. Haile Selassie wasn't born yet. So the time is a little bit shy, not 400 years. Slavery had already ended in most European countries by 1802. So you still don't get a 400 years. You see how he moved the goalposts to try to make it fit from 1492 to 1892 when Haile Selassie was born. That's 400 years. Yet they weren't enslaved during that whole time. So you can't claim it. Proof slaves were being brought in 1692. There are ship manifests that shows the first slaves that were brought to the Americas in 1619 at the Jamestown, Virginia. You got the manifestations of it. You got they had the ship manifest that shows that they brought African slaves over in 1619. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think people realize how big of an industry slavery has been for. Well, it's been for a long ass time. But during the age of discovery, this whole so-called age of discovery, slavery was huge business. That was Microsoft level business back then. At any given time frame, there were 300 plus slave ships roaming around, making 3 to 4 trips a year with slaves. And not all slaves came to the Americas. Only once sugarcane became this product, that's what created the demand in the America. That fool Victor said, and see, this is why I can't talk to some people. In 1619 and June. Oh, you got a question mark on that, so my bad. All right. Were there Jewish investors in some of the slave trade? Yes. Were they all Jews? No. Were the Jews the only one doing it? Hell no. I mean, you got before that, like 80 years before that, I think it was about 80 years. Yeah, about 80 years before that, you got people like Pope Nicholas V saying that, hey, Spain and Portugal, it is your Christian duty to go and make slaves out of the people in Africa, in West Africa. And you had Clement saying that y'all need to stop enslaving them people in wasn't the Azores, the other island chain. I forgot the island chain, because some of them are already Christians and you can't make fellow Christian slaves. But for the non-Christian, you can make them into slaves. You know, with Cape Verde and all that set. I don't know why the name of the Canary Islands. Thank you, brain. The Canary Islands. So there's a lot more nuances to the whole development of the transatlantic slave trade. And before there was a transatlantic, in the sense that we call it transatlantic, they were taking slaves around the coast of Africa into the Mediterranean and up into England and all these other places long before they start bringing African slaves to America. Now, during that whole time frame, you still had the British who were transporting Indian people to Africa as slaves and to Southwest Asian islands as slaves. And even when they got into the Asian world, they were moving people around in those areas as slaves. So slavery during that time frame is not cut and dry America only. That is a very narrow view of it. Oh, it's 4:35. Yeah, that's an incredibly narrow view of slavery when you look at it, and that's that thing. See, why can't we just look at it for the facts of what it is? Why it gotta be, oh, the Jews did it, which just is something that people use to create division and hate. It was a whole bunch of people doing it. Christians mainly. If you want to look at it from a religious standpoint, Christians are the main ones who sponsored and who participated in the slavery that was done by Europeans. Now, even before that, you had the Arabs dominating the African slave trade coming across the Sahara Desert. They had been doing it for about 400-500 years before the Europeans started. That's why when them people be talking some, we're Moors, I be like, do you realize that yes, the slavery was a little bit easier, and you had easier ways to get out of slavery with the Arabs than you did with the Christians, with the Muslims than you did with the Christians. But if you could prove your family members are Moors, the motherfuckers weren't. The main Moors who had the power were Arabs. Wasn't no Africans. You had a few here and there. They like to jump on it. I got an uncle right now. Him and his line of the family be swearing up some Moorish stuff. And I when I dug deeper into his daddy, my grandfather, I like, that motherfucker didn't come from no Moorish nothing. Eddie J. Ross family, some West African mother. I couldn't even find a white person in Eddie J. Ross line. I couldn't find no Europeans. All I found was going back to plantation in Georgia, plantation in Alabama, and then up into Dayton, Ohio area. And that's it. That's it. That was all for his family. It wasn't, they ain't come from Europe. None of that. Came on a boat from Africa. And I'm thrilled that they survived that, because if they hadn't, I wouldn't be here. So I don't even look. A lot of people don't like it because they feel like their history began there. My history doesn't begin there. My history doesn't begin there. My history goes further back. There's the DNA thing. Put some of my family members in Mali, put some of my family members in Ghana and in Benin. They have those countries have good and bad history, and that's part of my history. So my history don't start on a slave ship, you know. So if your history, if you have to facilitate a false history or to denigrate another group of people in order for you to feel better, you have internal problems. You have some internal problems. You have some emotional, mental issues you need to get over yourself. But that's just me. That's just Coach Renz, the enlightened being. I'm going to change my name, Coach Renz, the enlightened one. I am reaching samadhi, nirvana. I got to skip the Christ mind because it's too low on the pole, and get the Buddha mind. And then go beyond the Buddha mind. As the Tao says, once you understand the way, then Buddhism is no longer needed, because you're in the energetic flow of the way, the source, the energy of the universe, and how it flows naturally. The Tao of Renz. That's what I'm gonna call it. The Tao of Renz. Oh man. We tied to Coach Renz. No, now I'm sure that was a joke. Yeah. Coach, are you familiar with the Battle of Adawa in Ethiopia? Nope. See, I like look. Pay. See, this is the difference, Jim. Jim, who likes to just spout shit without backing any damn thing up. I ain't asking nobody for no damn tithe. This shit's like a business. If you want to support the channel, support the channel. The more you support the channel, the more I'm gonna give to the channel. The difference between your pastors is I'm gonna actually give you stuff that you can actually use, not some bullshit pie in the sky. Not some, yes, God may be taking you through a season right now, but I say to you, in that season, you got to give an extraordinary seed to God, and God will make your life pour over. Fill your cup where you thought that there was no cup to be filled. He will fill your cup. It'll come from sources that you don't even recognize or know. You ain't got to do nothing to get it. God just gonna fill your cup. And then next month, you still can't pay your mortgage. Matter of fact, you ain't got a mortgage. And then you lose your job. Then you're struggling to pay your car note. The only Christians who ever get a reward is the ones who get out there and they do business to making a reward for themselves. That's it. What? Well, I don't know much about this battle that you're talking about, so I can't speak to it. I don't know who you calling the devil came to slew the child, and they, man, y'all gotta proofread. I know I got a bad habit of not proofreading some of my titles, but damn, bro, that's when the devil came to slew the child, and they 19th and got defeated. It was the beginning of African independence. That shit don't even make sense. I kind of generally understand what you're saying, but that shit don't make no sense. I'm not gonna look into it. I don't care. If there was a battle, and I'm guessing you're saying somewhere in the 1900s, there was a battle and they fought in Ethiopia. What they got to do with anything that I'm talking about? I don't care. What that supposed to prove your God? Because somebody had a battle? I grew up in Marietta, Georgia. The battle at Kennesaw Mountain and the battle at Stone Mountain. That's when an angel named Sherman came in the 1800s and burnt Atlanta to the ground. Burnt that son bitch. And then conquested his way down through Savannah. The angel Sherman. Look at that. That's ignorance. Why? Because I don't want to research something that you talking about. You know, people kill me with that, like, oh, you're being ignorant if you don't research the thing that I talk about. Motherfucker, that's not part of my interest. I don't care. I don't research a whole bunch. There's an empty number of things that is going on or has happened in the world that I'm not going to research. One, ain't nobody got that much time. I'm gonna research that for go research a battle. The Battle of Atlanta. Who saw the devil to testify that he attacked the, I know, and he said the child. Like, who the fuck is he talking about, the child? There ain't nothing about Haile Selassie that's gonna enlighten me at all. Haile Selassie is a con man, right? And he had the best kind of con, because he conned a whole bunch of motherfuckers into thinking that he was Jesus. He conned the whole country into thinking he was the Messiah. And he conned all y'all to thinking that his lineage goes back to Menelik the First, and that Menelik was the son of Sheba and what's that dude, Solomon. He conned the shit out y'all. And then people walking around here talking something. Yeah, I worship Yah. Haile Selassie, Yah. Haile Selassie ain't did shit. He ain't did a damn thing. See, the political life of Haile Selassie would not mean anything to me enlightenment wise or spiritually wise, because he's just a dude who conned a whole country. That's it. And conned a whole bunch of people in the Caribbean. That's it. Now, I do like Rastafarians when they ain't on their bullshit, because they some chill ass people. They just chill, but that's it. They get on their spiritual shit, they full of bullshit. But Haile Selassie ain't nothing but a con man. Good con. Good con. I got all y'all thinking that I'm the Messiah. And he did. And he did, and Ethiopia did not become a world power after that. It still ain't a world power. And y'all running around sniffing Haile Selassie's butt. He up there, he laughing in his grave. The Kibra Nagas, The chronological history of the Solomonic line of kings is just something that somebody wrote and made up. There's no validity to it. You can't even prove Solomon existed. Prove Solomon existed. That goes to our subject matter here. So we run out of time. Yeah, I'm speaking factually that Haile Selassie was a con man. Sure hell am. But in order for you to be able to prove that, you got to prove that Solomon exists first. You got to start right there. And there's actually zero proof that Solomon existed. We ain't got no coins. We ain't got no pottery. We ain't all you got is the Old Testament. That's it. You ain't got nothing. You ain't got no statues. You ain't got no portraits. You ain't got nobody who was writing at the time frame of Solomon. So you have no biographies. You ain't got no documents that Solomon wrote to other people and signed. Like, think about this. We have the Amarna letters, which is a whole bunch of vassal state kings telling the Pharaoh of Egypt, look, we got some bandits out here and they fucking around. Or we got some trade issues. We need you to fix them. We got all these letters. But we ain't got shit from Solomon. He's supposed to be the wisest man that ever lived. But we ain't got nothing from him. There's zero proof Solomon ever existed. I mean, I might as well claim that I'm a descendant of Shaka. I'm from the royal line of Shaka Zulu. Haile Selassie is not a descendant of, he's a descendant of Captain America. No, he's a descendant of T'Challa. T'Challa, the Black Panther. Okay, people, it's time for me to get out of here so I can go and go to the gym, work on this back fat today. We did legs and shoulders yesterday. You know, elliptical for 20 minutes. Then we did 7 leg exercises, did a leg press on the sled, leg curls, leg extensions, did some lunges. What else I do? So it's leg press, leg extension, leg curls, calf raises, lunges. And what else did I do? Oh, I did some squat thrusts. Then there's some squat thrusts, which was like leg and shoulder combo to move me into the shoulders. Then I did some shoulder presses, some shoulder raises with a slow descent on lateral and front. That was the workout yesterday. Everything hurt right now. Well, my shoulders hurt. So getting ready to go to the gym today, gonna work the back fat. Back fat and triceps today. So gotta work it. So hopefully y'all getting in the gym, getting your life together, getting your work, get your body together, because all you got is your health. So yeah. So y'all have a great day. Tomorrow, Fridays are interesting. My wife gets off work at 3. It's probably unlikely that we'll have a show tomorrow. If we do have a show tomorrow, it will be a last minute thing that I have time for. So it'll depend upon how my day goes tomorrow, whether or not I come live tomorrow. Other than that, I'll be live again on Monday. So I will see you guys. If I don't see you Friday, I'll see you Monday. You damn sure ain't gonna see me over the weekend, other than just, man, I do post videos. After I made 2 videos before I start this live. Give me about an hour, and those videos should be posted within an hour. The 2 videos I made today. One is about Lucifer. The other one is about a little bit about Revelations. So those videos will get posted on Facebook and YouTube in about an hour. They're already on TikTok. They're already on TikTok. Well, no, I asked that Monday. So yeah, over the weekend, I want you guys to think about what other type videos would you like to see commentary about, like political videos, but still pertaining to the same subject matter. Because I do those every now and then, But would you like to see more of those that's dealing with today's political environment? Or what other subject matters would you like to see videos about? Yeah, and thank you everybody who supports the channel. I appreciate y'all. Continue to support the channel, subscribe to the channel. But those who truly support the channel, or those who spend that cup of coffee a month, that $5, being a subscription holder on Facebook or a member on YouTube, I thank you guys tremendously, and thank you for the super chat earlier in the show today. So y'all have a great day, and always remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration. Study Ethiopia. Ain't none of my family from Ethiopia. I'm gonna study Ethiopia for when my family is not from Ethiopia. Damn, I gotta read this one because he did a super chat. We love chopping it up with Coach Renz. Yeah, Trifold. Where you been, man? Where you been, Trifold? Where you been? I ain't seen you in a minute. Yeah, I'm talking shit about you. I ain't seen you in a minute, Trifold. But I see you guys on Monday. Trifold. Now I gotta see, I'm doing this because he super chatted, so that I gotta give him, I gotta talk a little bit more. Oh, what? I just hit a button by accident. Yeah. We miss you, Trifold. I bet you it's hot as hell in the Caribbean right now, Trifold. This fool said the world came from Ethiopia. That's why. I need you to do some archaeological study, bro. The world didn't come from Ethiopia. Human migration patterns show that the first Homo erectus, Homo sapiens, migrated from much further south in Africa into Ethiopia. And there are major migrations that happened starting back 200,000 years ago. Most recent one was around 25 to 65,000 years ago. So no, the world didn't come from Ethiopia. Stupid. Just here in the bushes peeking in. Nah, bro, you gotta be more prominent, Trifold. Lucy was a chimpanzee. She's an ancient relative of a chimpanzee. Lucy is not a Homo erectus or Homo sapien or none of those. Lucy was a chimp. If you look at the throat structure, just the throat structure of Lucy, the throat structure of Lucy shows that it would have had the ability to consume liquids and speak at the same time, or make sounds at the same time without interference. That is a trait that only the great apes have. So Lucy is not a Homo erectus or Homo sapien or Homo nothing. she that's a different branch of the tree, my guy. You're still banking on scientific information from the 1800s to try to prove your Haile Selassie point. And wait a minute, wait. Wait, I gotta look this up real quick, because I know I'm right, but I want to make sure I'm right. Yeah. Early human ancestor Lucy. Let me look this up real quick here. Where's the word I'm looking for? Where's the word I'm looking for? Yeah. Lucy was the Australopithecus amnesis, amnesis. And says she rises out of Homo habilis and gave rise to Homo erectus and eventually led to Homo sapiens. So that's the debate right now. That is not the guaranteed thought process. That's what they're debating as to whether or not Lucy developed is the line that the Homo sapien and Homo erectus came from. That's still debatable. And a lot of that is from the structure. Now, I want you to think about something, Mr. Rupert. Right? Before I get off here, I'm getting off here for real. I want you to think about something, Mr. Rupert. If you're claiming Lucy developed into the Homo sapien to which we are now, Lucy is estimated around 3.2 million years ago. That means you accept evolution from the Australopithecus to Homo sapiens. You accept that line of scientific thought, which would then invalidate your Genesis story, all your Old Testament stories, which would include Solomon, because the first man and woman would not be Adam and Eve if you are claiming Lucy. And if you're claiming that Lucy initiated civilization, is from that line, it initiated civilization in Ethiopia, then the whole thing of Genesis and the Garden of Eden, you got to throw that out the window. And if you throw Adam and Eve and Genesis out the window, Adam, Eve had Seth, they had children down to Noah. Noah had Shem. Shem had children up through Abraham and up through Jacob. And your whole Davidic line has to be thrown out the window if you're going to claim Lucy. So, Rupert, are you still claiming Lucy? You see how y'all walk into your own mess? Because you're so infatuated with Haile Selassie, you're so infatuated with Ethiopia. And since Lucy was found in Ethiopia, you want to jump on to that and say that, oh, well, everything out of Ethiopia, which means Haile Selassie. But no, your whole biblical narrative of the Old Testament from creation and Adam and Eve up to your Solomon then is thrown out the window if you accept Lucy as the beginning of humanity, as far as we know right now. You see how that don't work together? That don't work. Anyway, they just be setting themselves up. But for real, it's 5 o'clock. My wife's gonna be home in about 15-20 minutes, and I need to go get dressed for the gym. So y'all have a great day. Always remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations, and y'all got that extra few minutes because of Trifold. All because of Trifold. So later.